Welcome back, one and all, to the Boston Celtics Newsfeed, powered by CLNS Media. I'm Mike Walsh, manager of the Celtics Newsfeed, and this is day 6 of our 2017-18 NBA preview. We'll be going day by day in alphabetical order, releasing a new team preview each day, leading up to opening night, October 17th in Cleveland. Before we get started today, I want to mention that with training camp on the horizon, we have a complete coverage schedule for CLNS Media. The CLNS crew will be on hand at Media Day Monday with press conferences, photo ops, and a new Garden Report episode airing on the YouTube page at youtube.com/CLNS Media. Tuesday through Thursday, CLNS will have coverage of training camp down in Rhode Island at Salve Regina, and then they'll be back up at practice Friday, bringing you all of the best audio and visual coverage. CLNS will also have full coverage of both preseason home games, so subscribe to youtube.com/CLNS Media to not miss a thing. Back into these preview podcasts, each one will be accompanied by an outline blog post on our site, clnsradio.com. Today I'll be previewing Paul Millsap's new home in Denver with the Nuggets. The Western Conference is really stacked with good teams this year, but Denver could be one of the best of the bunch. They'll play the Celtics in the regular season twice, visiting Boston on Wednesday, December 13th, and then the Celtics will take a trip out to the Pepsi Center in Denver on Monday, January 29th. So, without further ado, let's get into Day 6 of the Boston Celtics Newsfeed's 2017-18 NBA season preview with the Denver Nuggets. Depending on how you look at the Nuggets last season, you could say they lucked out in the end of the year, or they really, unfortunately, missed out on the playoffs. They finished 40-42, miss out by one game of the 8th seed, and that obviously would have granted them a first-round sweep of the Golden State Warriors, more than likely. They got 63 solid games out of Danilo Gallinari, which might not seem like much, but that's really the most he's played in the last 4 years. He led the team with 18.2 points per game, but that's not the real story in Denver. Also, Gallinari, as we'll find out in a little bit, was traded this offseason. The story here is Nikola Jokic. He is currently making less than $2 million a year, but had just an unreal breakout season. 16.7 points, 9.8 rebounds, 4.9 assists. 6'10", he's a strong free throw shooter. Gets his field goal percentage up there. He started shooting threes a little bit more last year and was shooting them at a fairly decent clip for a guy of his size. That's really their breakout star, the guy they're going to be building this team around. And again, like I said, he's still under contract at under $2 million, best contract in the league. Elsewhere, last season, Jameer Nelson and Emmanuel Mudiay splitting time at point guard. They had Wilson Chandler, Gary Harris, Will Bart, Kenneth Faried, a lot of names that you know. A lot of, I guess I would call them strong role players, and that way they're a lot like the Celtics in the past years, but didn't have that guy, obviously Gallo leads them at 18.2 points per game, didn't have that guy that could consistently get it done scoring the basketball, even Gallo missing 19 games last year, as he is wont to do in his career. I also mentioned in the preview that's running on clnsradio.com right now, Denver had 11 different players start 10 or more games last season. That's not exactly a recipe for success or continuity or chemistry within your team. They're going to need to, sort of get that number down, have more clearly defined roles. And as we'll find out, that might be happening, but it's going to be relying on a lot of young guys to do so. So with their offseason grades, and we're finding out really every team that we do so far this offseason has had a crazy offseason. Big stuff was happening all year long throughout the NBA. Denver Nuggets weren't exactly absent from that conversation either. Outside of Boston, Denver got arguably the top free agent on the market. Gordon Hayward had his whole thing going on, 4th of July. Paul George, Jimmy Butler getting traded. The Nuggets kind of quietly picked up Paul Millsap. Not exactly quietly financially for Millsap. Good for him. He makes bank here. 3-year deal, $95 million total. I believe that last year is a team option, though. So will be, guaranteed for the next 2 years at north of $30 million, which is pretty sweet for him. He will turn 33 during the upcoming season, though, so something to pay attention to there. But it's not like he's been showing signs of decline. He averaged career highs in points and assists per game last year. He's also made the All-Star team each of the last 4 years, including last season, 2016-17. So he's still a high-quality player and a guy that, putting next to Nikola Jokic, could create real terrifying matchup problems for most of the teams in the league. It's not a clean plus for the offseason. They do lose Danilo Gallinari. They wind up trading him, essentially kind of dumping him to create that space that was going to be offered all that money to Millsap. They get, I think, just a second-round pick. It's a whole 3-team ordeal to get him to the Clippers where he is now. And the three-teamer, I think, only returns a second-rounder to the Nuggets, which isn't a great return for a guy who averaged over 18 points a game last season. But if you look at it in that they traded Gallinari for Paul Millsap, it is, I guess, a win in that situation, even though Millsap 3 or 4 years older. In the draft, they slide back, they trade back to pick up some extra stuff. They pick up reserve Jazz forward Trey Lyles, who is a former lottery pick himself, I believe, in 2015. They wind up drafting Tyler Lydon out of Syracuse with the number 24 pick, which they had gotten from the Jazz. They gave up their 13th overall pick, wound up being Donovan Mitchell, who's in Utah now. So overall, offseason grades pretty strong. I mean, consider you get Millsap, it's almost just a flat-out win when you're able to add a player of that caliber. Even though you lose Gallinari, Millsap's been a little bit more reliable in terms of games played and just sort of all-around ability, defensive, offensive, passing the ball. Gallo is almost, just almost a pure scorer. And Millsap can obviously replace 18.2 points per game is well within Millsap's wheelhouse. Quick break to tell you guys about Bombfell. I have a confession to make. A bunch of my new wardrobe comes from these, going out of business sales at JCPenney and Macy's and the department stores that I really don't like going to all that much. Shopping for clothes, such a pain. Always winds up being more expensive than I plan. I wind up shelling out these big bucks and I go home and I'm like, eh. But that's until I heard about Bombfell recently. Guys want to look good and fall wedding season is becoming more and more popular. I have weddings this weekend and next weekend coming up. So check out Bombfell. It's an easier way for men to get better clothes. Fill out a simple questionnaire. Bam, you're matched with a dedicated personal stylist who will pick out each piece just for you. They'll email you their selections, and then you get 2 full days, 48 hours, to make any changes, or you could cancel the order altogether. You're in total control the whole time. I never feel that at department stores. It's always, gotta get this, alright, I'll pay whatever. Even after the clothes arrive, though, you get a full week to decide what you like and what you want to keep. Whatever you don't want, you'll send right back. Check these guys out hassle-free. Sign up. Tell them about yourself, your budget, your measurements. You can pick and choose what you're looking for or just leave it to that personal stylist I mentioned. And of course, shipping is free both ways, but that's not all. Sign up using the code GardenReport and you'll get $25 off your first purchase at Bombfell. Go to bombfell.com/GardenReport. That's BOMBFELL.com/GardenReport. Training camp questions for the Denver Nuggets. Millsap's obviously a big get for them. Not the kind of mainstream star that you have to worry about, I don't think. He seems to just sort of fold into whatever's happening and put up numbers a lot like, Al Horford coming to the Celtics wasn't a guy you needed to worry about, even though he is a pretty big name on the market. Him and Jokic just going to fill up the stat sheet. I guess there might be some positional situations there, but it's more, Jokic is more of a center, Millsap more of a forward. It should work out fine. I know it's not going to be, the small ball that a lot of teams are going, but if you can buck that trend with guys that have the caliber of talent of Millsap and Jokic, you should be fine there, and you should, flip it and make other teams really concerned about how they're defending that and how they're attacking the basket. Big question I have for the Nuggets in training camp is those young guys, because if you're going to have these two big guys, Jokic is obviously young as well, but I'm considering him just sort of a proven talent at this point. Those two big guys in the paint, you need to flood them with shooters on the outside, and those shooters are going to be really young. I talk about it on CLNSradio.com today. You can read it there. Let's see, Jamal Murray, Emmanuel Mudiay, Gary Harris. Respectively, they are 19, 20, and 22 years old. That is largely unproven group of really young guys. Mudiay didn't have a smooth transition into the NBA. He's getting better. He split time with Jameer Nelson last season. Hopefully he'll be able to take on more of a role this year, but again, only 20 years old. Jamal Murray came into the year last year, inconsistent shooting the basketball. Finished okay, though, with overall numbers, but you're looking for a little bit more from him. He's supposed to be that elite three-point shooter that would definitely help this team out. Gary Harris, been around a little bit longer and has proven himself to be a reliable role player. If he can take another step, though, into a full-time starter, that would be a huge get for Denver. And I'm curious as to how those guys are going to mix with, because they do have some of these older guys. Like I said, Jameer Nelson, I think he's 34, 35 now. Wilson Chandler's 30. And with Gallinari's 18 points per game leaving, obviously Millsap will replace some of that, but Denver needs to score the basketball more. And I don't know if any of these guys are going to be able to become that elite scorer that would drive this team in a hellacious Western Conference. That's why I think the next move they're going to make maybe is one of those older guys, and a guy I haven't really talked about much. That would be Kenneth Faried. He is, I don't want to say expendable, because you definitely need a third big guy to fill in behind Millsap and Jokic, and obviously injuries and all that stuff, but Denver has gone out and they've gotten a bunch of younger guys. Fareed's going to be 28 in November. And Denver obviously picked up Lyles and Leiden in the draft, both young big men, both young potential power forwards. And Juan Hernan Gomez last year, a couple years ago as well. Now has some NBA experience at the in the front court. So there's a lot of guys there, and Fareed's still a very valuable player, but did drop off a little bit last year. He had been a regular starter there for a handful of years, and last year started 34 of 61 games. He only played in 61 games last season, but obviously a very valuable rebounder and can score the basketball in close. So a guy other teams could be looking at, and I'm not sure maybe if some of those younger guys don't hit shooting the basketball, if, Jamal Murray continues to take his time or building up to what he is. He's only 19, same with Emmanuel Mudiay, and, you don't want to just full-on trust your team to Jameer Nelson. Maybe you can deal Fareed for, a veteran shooter who can fill it up from the outside. Just another guy who can score the basketball on the perimeter. Like I said, they'll be playing the Celtics twice, December 13th and January 29th. Millsap's often had a lot of success against the Celtics, so I don't expect to see any difference there. He's still that caliber player, in my opinion, for at least another year. I'm not sure by the end of his contract he will be, but we'll see. He's 33 now. Jokic, massive matchup problem for Boston, just like everybody else. Marcus Morris, I guess, would be their perimeter big defender, the guy you're looking at there. I'm not sure Al Horford has the speed, quickness to hang with a Jokic, but he would, be another guy there, potentially. Aaron Baines, I don't know who you want to throw at him. That's going to be a real problem. But, like I said, the backcourt problem is going to be a big one for the Nuggets in this matchup. A lot of young guys back there. Jameer Nelson not going to be able to hang with Kyrie Irving at this point of his career, and I don't know if the young guys will be able to deal with the Celtics' just sort of caliber of offense. Bottom line, the Celtics will trot out two guys who may very well average 20-plus points per game this season, and the Nuggets may, yet again not have that elite scorer. Final record and standings prediction, I do think they're going to have a very good year at Denver. I'm going 47-35. The West is just flooded with good teams, so it's tough to, blow up some win totals here, but 47 wins in the West is very, very strong. I have them 5th place in the conference, so that is my take on the Denver Nuggets. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to Day 6 of the Boston Celtics Newsfeed's 2017-18 NBA season preview. Again, you can get more analysis on the CLNSradio.com site and view any of our previous episodes over at youtube.com/CLNSmedia. That's also where you'll find all of our preseason coverage from training camp, media day, preseason games. Get it all there. Subscribe. Don't miss a thing. Follow CLNS on Twitter at CLNSmedia and myself at CLNS_Walsh. Be sure to subscribe to the Celtics Newsfeed, rate and review us on iTunes, Stitcher, and of course the CLNS Media Network's mobile podcast app. Tune back in tomorrow when I'll be talking with CLNS Media's writer David Ostrowsky about his preview for the Detroit Pistons. Until then, this is Newsfeed Manager Mike Walsh signing off.